Rolling audio. Okay. All right. So, hello and welcome to. I don't know what I'm welcoming you to, but welcome to it. The topic of today is burnout. And for me, that is a very interesting topic because up until recently, I didn't know it existed. Even when I was experiencing it, I didn't realize that I was experiencing it. Right now, I'm at a weird time in my life where I feel perpetually inspired to create and be constantly in a mode of expression, but at the same time I'm so exhausted to get anything done. So it's just really confusing to be in that state. And I think that part of sorry, I just want to show you my turtle. I can't right now, but I will, because whenever I talk for a long period of time, he sticks his head out of the water just to listen, to absorb the vibrations. I don't know. Anyway, I experience burnout perpetually now because I got to a place where I absolutely burnt out in college. From birth to college, that was my first big burnout in college. And then from then, I just continually, perpetually burn out daily, weekly, monthly. So I just got on medication for depression and anxiety, and that medication has made me realize how much of a difference just my mental health can be affected by burnout, because when I'm doing better mental health wise, I'm less likely to burn out to the place where I can't recover fast enough. But I'm still figuring that out because I just most recently got diagnosed. The positives of those medications are that they help me get out of bed and they help me feel motivated and inspired to do things, but at the same time I get so tired so quickly that I'll be motivated for 3 hours and then get to a place where I'm ready for a 3 hour nap, and then that's just not enough time to be productive for me because I have to gain momentum in my productivity. First it's spark of inspiration, then it's generating ideas, and then it's doing the actual ideas. So yeah, my medication is helpful for a lot of aspects of my burnout, but at the same time it doesn't really help a lot of things that I consider to be autistic traits that just aren't fixed through depression and anxiety, or not depression and anxiety, aren't fixed through depression and anxiety medication. I'm looking down at my notes and it's plus I can't tell if I'm gaining weight from them, which just sort of depresses me, which I'm that's actually true because it affects me, because it can make me more depressed, but at the same time I'm just laughing that I even put that down here because that has nothing to do with burnout. It doesn't really matter to me if I lose weight or gain weight. I just want to be healthy, and I'm just at a point where gaining weight means less healthy, and that makes me depressed. It hasn't really fully helped my ADHD and other autistic traits, so I feel like I still do experience perpetual burnout, but I get more of that inspiration and that motivation to get up and do things now because I'm not perpetually depressed and anxious, as well as burning out and getting distracted and all the things. Though the medication I've been taking has its pros and its cons, the biggest thing for me that I was personally worried about when I started, or when I considered taking medication, was just whether or not it would actually help with my burnout. If it would help me get motivated, stay away from exhaustion, and get through the day well. And I think, I was saying, it's gotten me through that first part pretty well, but it's the second aspect of it that I'm still working on, that exhaustion, and still having constant motivation, because I feel like that's something that exhaustion pretty much is. It's when you no longer have that motivation pushing you to do something, You kind of feel into your body for a second and you're like, dang, I'm really tired and really hungry and I haven't been taking care of myself. Or you have been taking care of yourself, but you still just need a nap, or you still just need something else to like pause and stop your day. Anyway. My background with burnout has basically just been, when I was younger, I didn't, like I said, I haven't known what this concept was. I guess I should define the concept. Burnout is the psychological syndrome emerging as prolonged response to chronic interpersonal stressors. And this says on the job, but burnout is like a life thing. So the most important thing about this definition is that it says it's a prolonged response. And I think that that's ultimately what I would put my definition as. It's a prolonged response to stressors. It's like being overstimulated for a long period of time to the point where you can no longer function the way you normally function. And the worst part about that is that you can often experience regression. You can often experience regression, which basically means that like skills that you have to put effort into, or even ones that you don't necessarily have to put effort into because you built up some skill and some ability to not have to put effort into doing them, you might regress in your ability to do them and you have to relearn some things or just like take a break so that you can come back and actually be able to do it the way that you have learned how to. This is something that I experience a lot. I don't even remember specific skills that I lost the ability to do. I just remember feeling like so overwhelmed that I couldn't even think, and then having to stop doing something like simple, like reading or cooking or like getting dressed in the morning. Like I might just be trying to think like, okay, let me put an outfit together, but it's like there's so much burnout and so much overstimulation that I'm just like, let's just lay back down. Let's just lay back in bed and put a blanket on and not think about the day. Anyway, my background with burnout when I was younger, I think the only time I would experience burnout, which is why I didn't like the on the job part of the definition, is because a lot of the burnout I experienced was actually in social situations. When I'd be around people for too long and I'd be overstimulated, I'd usually get to a point where I was burnt out and I would just get tired and I would have to go and sit alone by myself. And a lot of the times I would kind of throw a bit of a tantrum about it. And I think that over time I would start to get so sensitive to the stuff that people were saying to me that I would just take something so hard and I would go sit off to the side in the corner and pout, and then people would come over and be like, what's wrong? And I'd be like, nothing, because I wasn't going to tell them what was wrong with me because they were the ones who made me mad in the first place. But I didn't know. I was like, I would blame people so easily. I'd be like, well, you're mean, so that's why I'm upset, versus just had I known that, oh, I get really overwhelmed in social situations and sometimes I can get really sensitive. So if you say the wrong thing for too long, I'm going to take it wrong and then I'm going to go sit in the corner by myself. So I just have to learn myself and learn that I need breaks. I need to like definitely take time away if I'm starting to take things personally. And I still have those moments where I get burnt out in social situations and I start to get really sensitive to what people are saying and I start to like overly correct my personality in social situations or something. It's interesting to like experience it as an adult still, because I'm like, I feel my inner child just being like wanting to sit in a corner and pout, but I have to tell myself like, you're grown up. You can't get mad at this person for like telling you need to get a manicure. I don't know. Something small. As I got older, I started to experience burnout with other things like school and just like after school stuff, after school extracurriculars. That was probably the least burnout experience I got because it was for a shorter period of time, out of the day and out of the year. Extracurriculars, and they're more creative, and I just love doing things with my body and like vocally and physically and stuff like that, and creatively, like art. Just went on a tangent. Anyway, started experiencing burnout more often with school, and still social situations, but also like at home I would like not want to talk about my day or have conversations with my family just because I was so burned out from the day, or like I had taken so many things personally, or like I didn't know how to process my day properly because I was just so overstimulated, so overwhelmed. And that was like teenage years, so it kind of just seemed like, oh, you're just the like bratty teenager who like always has an attitude. But that wasn't true, because I'd go be by myself and I'd be the happiest kid because I didn't have to explain anything to myself. I didn't have to speak if I didn't want to. And if I wanted to speak, I could speak about whatever I wanted to speak about. That's the biggest thing about burnout for me. And I think that's maybe a difference in like particular types of burnout. But I think for me, one big thing was when I couldn't do what I wanted to do, or I couldn't like be invested in my interests or invested in the things that I enjoyed. I started to like lose that interest and lose that joy. And so then when I was in times where I could talk about my interests and be with myself and have fun and play and do whatever, I was not exhausted, I was not tired, I wasn't bored, I didn't want to not speak. But then when it came time where it was like, okay, you have to do school, okay, you have to listen to this person like discipline you or like preach to you about something, or I don't know. I'm trying to think of other moments where I just didn't want to be in them. And the older you get, the more there's those moments where you just have to do something instead of doing what you want to do. And my burnout would be the experience of being like, I can't. I can't do these things anymore. But it wasn't this selfish thing of like, oh, I only want to do what I want to do. It was more of, I felt like I felt like the more I was expected to do the things that other people were doing, was like the more I had to like force my brain in whatever way I was processing and experiencing things to conform and like align with what neurotypically is expected of you, to the way to process things and stuff. So I think about in school, I don't know if I've ever taken very, very, very successful notes, but I've listened intently at lectures, and it's just something that is very difficult for me, and it's something that I've gotten on every single autism test of like, can you take notes during class? And my answer has always been like, no. And then I think back to college and I'm like, wow, I really struggle with taking notes, but I never knew. If I had known, I probably could have been like, hey, disability, do you mind if I get a note taker? Because they always asked, they always offered that. And I probably could have had better notes that weren't taken by me, done better on tests. Once I graduated and I started working, I experienced burnout on the job, finally. Because before that, I loved the jobs that I was doing at like my school. They were easy, but they were also like well within my interests. And once I got out of college, it was hard to find jobs in my interests. So I did jobs with like revolving around other interests, but still just like not exactly the job description I would want coming out of college. So I think I like worked hard at those jobs, but I also just didn't really deny any moment that I felt like this is too much for me, or like I can't do this, or I mean, maybe I did deny them for some time, but then once I started recognizing it as like, oh, there's something called burnout. I don't remember exactly when it was that I figured out the term as a psychological term versus just like a concept that you can just burn out like doing something. But once I did understand it, I started to realize how much burnout I experience, especially like once I was in jobs that like just didn't pique my interest. And it wasn't, oh, this just doesn't pique my interest, I'm not gonna try, I don't care. It was, well, when I think about it, I'm like, it wasn't just interest. It was also it's not preferences, but it's like needs. Maybe some would call it special needs. Like, there are just things about my schedule that I need to be more specific, or things about my environment that I need to be more specific, that help me not get to a place of burnout that I didn't recognize before. And once I had done like 6 different part-time jobs and was like, okay, I want to get to a place where I don't just keep tossing up a job and tossing it into the trash, like one after the next, one after the next, because I'm recognizing, oh, there are aspects of it that are hard for me, or that I can't do, or that get me to a place of burnout. Because each time I was in a job, I would go through this cycle of feeling really inspired the first few weeks or months of being there. And then I would get comfortable and also lose a bit of that anxiety, and then regain a new level of anxiety when finding out, like, oh, this is the politics of the place, and this is how the people are, and this is where I stand, or questioning where I stand, or, all that stuff. And then I would get to this place where I'd just be very depressed. I wouldn't know why. I wouldn't know what was getting me there, but it was just this, like, daily having to reject whatever needs that I actually needed and continue to just, like, work, go, go, go. And I did that until a point where I was starting to just get, like, angry and mean and mad all the time, and not even be recognizing that I was angry. And then I just had to, like, get to a place eventually where I realized that that was me burning out. That was me being depressed. That was me not being capable of taking care of myself in the right way, because I was trying to prioritize, oh, I need money. I need to go be a responsible adult. I need to go take care of myself and show other people that I can do this. When in actuality, there are so many other aspects of my humanity that I'm not taking care of. One major thing being my mental health, another major thing being my creativity and my interests. I think that that's a big part of, like, managing one's spirit. Not managing, but what's the right word? Upkeeping, keeping it up, keeping it healthy and happy. Triggers and signs of burnout. I don't know how to transition into this next part, but I will say that once I realized what burnout was, it did help me recognize the triggers and signs of my burnout. Often I would just say that I would isolate. That was the biggest sign. And then I would get to the point where I was so isolated that I would feel alone and lonely. And then I would cry about how lonely I was. And I'm like, yeah, you're lonely because you made yourself be alone. But anyway, I don't blame myself. I understand why I do these things now. Other triggers and signs of burnout are partaking in my, so to speak, vices more often than I should. I think that that's a big sign of it. I think that's just usually burnout leads to depression for me. So that's a big sign of it as well. If I get depressed, or if I'm starting to see signs of my depression because they're similar, I might go, am I feeling burned out in any part of life? Now is the time where we bring light to burnout. I guess that's the whole point of this, but I just want people to know what it is, and in my very unprofessional, non-expert way of expressing how I experience and go about burnout. I didn't really talk about how I deal with it, so I guess I should talk about that. I think job-wise, I'm currently unemployed. That's how I'm dealing with my burnout. No, I've had a lot of interesting experiences trying to deal with my burnout lately. I've gone to a hospital. That wasn't really for burnout, but it ended up helping because that's where I got medicated. I've met with many different therapists and have started talking about different aspects of my life, and it starts to help me realize, like, oh, I moved recently. I lost a lot of friendships recently. I did this, I did that lately. Oh, maybe that's why I'm experiencing burnout. Oh, maybe this is why I'm struggling. You know, getting deeper into the actual psyche behind why I might be experiencing burnout. I think that really does help. EMDR is the thing that I want to try. If anyone is, I'm not recommending it because I haven't tried it yet, and I also am not a medical professional, but that is something that I want to try. That's all I'm saying. Reading, doing stuff that is creative and outside the realm of deadlines and money and expectations that can just help you kind of like relax, even if it's taking a nap, even if it's taking a bath, something calming. If you don't have that privilege, a 5-minute meditation, close your eyes, listen to the sounds around you, open them, breathe a little bit. That's not going to resolve your burnout, but it can help you center yourself and realize what you might need to help you resolve your burnout. In my notes, it says conclude with some goodness. So here's some goodness. I hope that this video helps anyone who is dealing with burnout or is trying to figure out what it is for them. I honestly don't even know what I said, and I hope it makes sense to the person who edits this video. Bye! Oh my gosh, I just thought of the amount of times I've said the word burnt out or burnout. But I feel like I sound so pretentious. I'm sorry if I sound so pretentious. I also feel like I'm really loud. Should I whisper? No, this is not ASMR.